So we are now recording. We're starting the evening version of the Global Documentary Network. And we are going to focus in on the business agenda of both the documentary, the feature-length movie, and the AWARE program, the Movement Boots on the Ground. So since we have a small group, probably twice as many will be showing up. But why don't we do a quick introduction? We'll start with Brett, then Sean.
All right, let's see. My name's Brett Warshawski. I'm originally from New Jersey, central New Jersey, Howell and Monmouth County. Been a global traveler for the last decade. I'm currently in North England, where my wife is from. And I'm a futurist, innovator, specialist in co-creation, synergy, and new paradigm governance and all sorts of good stuff. And I also have lived experience in my 20s with a spiritual emergence and then emergency and then, I don't know, 6 or 7 hospitalizations against my will. So I've been through everything from SSI to medications to day programs. And then I went back to school even for psychosocial rehabilitation at the University of Medicine and Dentistry when I was 30. So then I've even been on the other side of providing to consumers. So I'm currently out here being creative, working on the innovative, futuristic stuff as a sort of main thing. I work in strange ways as well, like gift economy and super out there, different kind of guy, as we all are. Thank you.
Sean.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Sean Blackwell. I normally live in Brazil, but I'm back home in my hometown of Toronto right now, and I've been coming and going. I was in Thailand and Bali this year for about 3 months as well. I have my own lived experience in 1996, but for the last 17 years, I've been teaching people about the spiritual dimension and healing potential of bipolar disorder. Shameless plug, just finished my new book, Bipolar Awakenings: The Quest to Heal Bipolar Disorder. Took a long time to write. It's pretty thick. You can see it's bigger than my head, and that's the reason it's got some big ideas. So that's the reason. And I'll be back down while Calvin and Janet are on the call. I've got 2 retreats that look like they're coming together, maybe a third in the Philadelphia, Pennsylvania area. So looks like I'll be down in your neck of the woods probably early November, late October, early November. So we can hook up again. Same time, same thing we did last year.
Perfect. And Brett might be able to make it too. So everybody send your itinerary when you're near New Jersey. Until we launch a nice production schedule around the world in 2025. So everybody that's waiting, if you would even do an introduction in the chat, because I'll start the agenda soon, so you can tell us where you're from and who you are. Matt, I do want to have a unique introduction of you because you're one of our newest members from Australia. And if everybody looks at the demo too, they'll see at least a little bit of Matt. So Matt, why don't you comment on why are you here? Why did you even find us on Facebook and enter into this project?
Well, it's funny coming off the back of Sean. I've just been promoting and advertising that book. So, yeah, I'm obviously someone with lived experience of what psychiatry has categorized and defined as bipolar, amongst other complex trauma and ADHD features, which to me are all responses to trauma, and I view them as spiritual gifts from the universe. I've lost a parent to suicide, so I grew up around mortality very young. I'm a social worker by training and now in public health. I'm a lived experience consultant for the World Health Organization. So I look at structural and commercial determinants to mental health and look at alternative frameworks to philosophizing and understanding madness, and then alternatives to how we respond to that as a service system. So I look very broadly, much like some of the fellow previous speakers, I look a lot more broadly at global humanity-based issues around mental health. and then zoom in and focus on member states and supporting them to co-design and co-produce with people with lived experience. So I guess I've come to it from I've had a long, decade-long career in international lived experience activism, and yeah, would consider myself as part of the Mad Pride movement and psychiatric survivor movement. So that's why I've come to this space.
Excellent. And thank you as one of our newest member of this global team. I do believe you know Marlena, and I have her off stage now. She's driving in her car, and I just have to keep only 10 on here at one time. So Marlena, if you can hear me, we see you. All right. I'm going to leave the rest of the introductions. Please put them in the chat, who you are, where you're from. And as you start to interact with the presentation, you can also announce who you are and where you're from. I want to acknowledge that Colleen DeJoseph is here. And Calvin, I am going to put you in the back room for a moment so I can have Colleen here. So Calvin's used to being put in the back room. He's cooperative. So what I'd like to do is start with an agenda. This is a global network that's been evolving over the last few years. And we have a specific agenda to update everybody. We used to do it monthly, quarterly. We're starting to do it like once a year. The next time we meet will be in the first quarter of 2025. But it's time now to give you some project progress, talk about next steps, and have you answer this question for yourself. How might you contribute? So the progress right now will be in 4 areas. One is the documentary pilot, the outline, and a series sequence is put together. And I'm going to ask Jen Gaeta to comment because she was very instrumental in helping us move that forward. We have an Aware New Jersey, Aware USA, and Aware Global initiative. And that's our boots on the ground, making a difference in 988, making a difference in minimizing or eliminating the hospitalization, misdiagnosis, forced drugging, especially when it's a spiritual experience. We'll have Carlito introduce that part. We'll do a little bit about the feature film because we have 2 projects going at one time, and I'll show you a demo sample that we just recently shot. And then I'll also talk a little bit about the Wall Street investor presentation we just did, and I'll ask Calvin to also comment on that. So, Jen, talk to us a little bit about the how we got from an 18,000 piece puzzle to somewhat of a design to all these people being integrated into 4 parts.
Well, I like the visuals that you got here. That's perfect because that's exactly what we worked off of. So I had just finished, I'm trying to get my own thing out there. So I had just finished writing a book, and I just want to go back to how like this happened this summer. Janet was getting prepared in many, many different ways as to how this was going to arrive on a legitimate structure that we could communicate to somebody, a producer, so that they would be able to see the whole picture. And she had been working on that with this layout. So when I had at some time this summer, I spent a week with her, and Carlito's with us too on a very important day where we kind of went through area by area and just really worked on who was a part of this project, who had things to say. And just before I even go any further about explanations, so much of it is reduced. I mean, there's so much more. This is a demo, meaning this is what we could get together in a proper way so that it can be looked at by someone who's willing to take it to the next level. But all of the things that were left out, people that if you don't see things that were representative of you and your story, it's only because it's like in the files, that's when that gets opened up and unpacked when someone's willing to start investing in the idea of this. But this had to be kind of like laid out in some kind of delivery system. So the first thing that we did was part one. And again, when I say we, Janet like ran with this. I spent a week with her. We really worked like area by area very carefully, and I gave as much of my material as I could. But from that point from the summer till now, she's worked diligently every single day. So Janet, I just want to like, give you a high five for that because it was
Thank you.
amazing. It's truly. And so part two, I think it was the thing that she just recently gave everybody to take a look at. And I just recently was able, Janet, to digest it all and really, happy with how much we could kind of get together so that it looks professional, legitimately supported by, all of our high level team, all of you researchers, scientists, lawyers, everybody who authors, everybody who's on this team who is legitimizing and normalizing this message. And also and all the people in between with lived experience. It was, I feel, really well laid out, Janet. I'm just really happy with how it came. Part 3, part 4, they're still in the works, and that's also more of the things that we worked on. Part 3 has to do with the history and kind of going back to concepts and how what was happening in the field at the same time. Now, and then part 4 is the beautiful gathering when we're all at ISPS and what's going on today with everybody in this movement. Again, this is a layout of a whole idea for a docuseries. So it's really just about showing the players, showing the story, seeing how they all connect with this message of spiritual emergency. And yet, at the same time, get someone to see the whole picture so that they can start telling the pieces, possibly laying this out in a series. So this is a demo. But, I think that, as a delivery system, as a concept, it can be shown to the right person who then has this, so we could move on to the next level. So, is that enough?
That's perfect.
Okay.
And we'll stop in a little bit for questions, but what we're very clear on, this is only content and sequence. It does not have the story script written, and it does not have the full professional production. We have some professional work and some YouTubes, but if we don't have you accurately, then you got to talk to me offline, and I will, correct certain things. Towards the end, I'll talk to you about how you can help us move this in detail based on your story. Especially when we go through the 70s to the 90s and we go through the present time. So coming soon. I'm going to invite Carlito and test your mic so it works. We have a Boots on the Ground initiative. So we are making media productions, but we are also looking to make a significant difference in the mental health system. While it will affect all mental health agendas, especially psychiatric care, we're specifically looking to influence engaging the spiritual and religious part. So Carlito and I now co-lead a monthly coalition of clergy, mental health leaders, and lived experience. We're going to be adding first responders. Carlito has been leading a bridging from East Coast, West Coast. We have a partner, Josh Roberts, on the West Coast, and they are doing some important steps that we have not gotten to on the East Coast. So Carlito might be able to comment. We do have a proposal to 988 that includes the religious and spiritual and a new standard of care. So Calvin and I will look to drive that forward. And this is one of my favorite. We recently started to collaborate with a retired NFL celebrity who has a business that we're working with. He happens to be on the board of a few psychiatric hospitals in New Jersey. And we are invited to meet the CEOs and the board because they specifically are looking to improve the psychiatric hospital inpatient and outpatient care. So that was a great new find just in the last few weeks. Carlito, if you can, if we can hear you, want to talk about Aware and your role?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone, or wherever you are, good morning or good afternoon. So basically my role by introduction, my name is Carlito Cablin. I volunteer for two organizations as a certified crisis counselor. One is Crisis Text Line. I've been doing that since 2019. And the other organization is really the state of New Jersey as a disaster response crisis counselor, where I'm deployed in the field. So my lane is crisis and crisis work. And in fact, I'll even mention Jen Gata Siciliano's podcast. That was her most recent episode. She did interview me, so you get a sense of sort of my passion in based on my lived experience. Anyway, so based on this slide here, New Jersey, what we're actually doing is how do I say it? This is kind of my lane where I felt the sort of the coalition and the intersection of mental health, psychology, and religion. So we have a team that I've put together from my own congregation, my own faith-based congregation, where there's a pilot group of about 6 or 7 of us. And what we're doing is we're going through, you already heard his name, Josh Roberts, who's also part of the Aware in San Diego, California. And so we're kind of bridging East and West because he does a lot from his own lived experience of teaching psychosis, mental health, and the spiritual realms. And so from that, we're going to, because I really feel like the work, in terms of spiritual emergency, I feel like the workflow starts at first response, right? So in New Jersey, they already, I think it was like 2021, they've actually started this response network called ARRIVE. It has an acronym. It means a co-response model where police, EMT, or EMS will show up on scene with a mental health counselor. Okay. In some counties in New Jersey, they actually do this. They go and co-respond to a scenario situation that involves mental health. None of these programs in New Jersey are they talking about spiritual emergency. So as we know, if we could, the workflow starts there. If we can manage spiritual emergency from first response, then we can kind of, hopefully that's the first place to engage. And interesting enough, Pastor McDuffie, who is Paterson, New Jersey, who knows a lot of the council, the city. He's going to help us with Paterson, New Jersey, that doesn't have a co-response unit now. Because the thinking is this, and when Jan said boots on the ground, is this pilot team that we have is maybe we do sort of this spiritual crisis response unit, right? So there's got to be like in this co-response, they press a button, and then there's, hey, we're identifying this person's screaming out to all the gods or whatever. And so we understand it's a religious experience here. So maybe something like that needs to be formed, and then we're not just going to stop there. There needs to be a spiritual emergency room at the hospital, right? So in the ER, you need to be checked for your vitals and screened, right? What they should be checked and screened for spiritual emergency, as opposed to, if it's awakening, it's a calm moment, but now it's an emergency. So that's kind of what we have going right now. And what's neat is we are partnering with the right people, not only Josh Roberts to help train and coach us with this pilot team, but somehow we can figure out a way to co-respond with these mental health counselors in the area of specifically spiritual emergency. And MHA, Mental Health Alliance of Monmouth County, they've already agreed to kind of help us through that process because they're doing co-response, but they don't have anything that has to do with spiritual emergency. So it's kind of exciting. We're gonna see how it works, and we'll take time with it. It's obviously kind of like a little startup, if you will, in a county in New Jersey that we're going to see what spiritual emergency means to the first response unit. Okay, so that's hopefully enough I could comment on, Janet.
That's excellent. Dr. Rupy, I know you're looped in here. We don't see your picture. Oh, we do. I think this is a great time to introduce you, because I said we will, give some specific introductions to our new guests. Dr. Rupy, I love what you're doing. Everybody needs to find her on LinkedIn. I did send some links on the latest email of some of your work, Dr. Rupy, with 911. So I think this might be a good time for you to introduce yourself and what is your message all around this 911, 988 area.
Hi there. Thank you so much for including me, Janet. I apologize for being off camera. I'm working on catching a flight, so I'm moving
Oh,
around, but definitely here. So I am a child and adult psychiatrist based in Los Angeles. And the focus of my work has related to health equity and anti-racism in mental health care, which I think, is just one way of talking about the kind of care that's being envisioned here. And I do some writing and teaching. I have my own practice. I started an anti-racism and mental health fellowship earlier this year that strives to train healthcare providers in a more humane, holistic way. And I think the paper Janet's referring to is one that I wrote about calling 911 and why that can be very dangerous during a mental health emergency. And yep, I believe that the psychiatric profession is long overdue for transformation. And I think that probably makes me a little unique among psychiatrists who are often very hesitant to critique the things that we do that can be really damaging to people.
yes. And I'm really looking forward for you and Dr. Calvin to get together. That's an East Coast, West Coast engagement. Calvin, I don't know if you wanted to say anything briefly, just because it's the first time you're meeting Dr. Rupi.
Yeah, I'm also a child and adolescent and addiction psychiatrist on the East Coast. I will definitely look forward to looking you up and connecting with you because, yes, psychiatry needs to do some changing. And I think this is the time and we've got some stuff that can help it. So thank you for coming here. And it's very good to meet you.
Yes. So, Dr. Rupi, obviously, if you're taking a plane and you have to step out, fine, we will definitely find you, but I appreciate that you're here. The next part of our agenda is there's 3 parts: boots on the ground, there's a docuseries, and then there's a feature movie. And despite all the people that says you can't do all this at once, well, it's how I've been guided. And it really has a lot of logical sense because the amount of content I keep sorting, to this is documentary, this is movie, this is impact in New Jersey, United States. So it actually is easier for me to do all 3 at once than one at a time. So I want to just comment on the name that I have in front of you here, Jack Valenza, because it speaks to the progress and in my words, my thought, God's hand in this, because Jack was one of the first people I called a year after I was out of the hospital. I did get the connection. We did know that we wanted to do a movie. And Jack is, his full-time day job is construction, but he is long-term in film and knows quite a few people that we might know out on the actor circuit. Jack has stayed with us for all these years. He did show up on September 13th to be filmed. He is full in support of the message of what this is, even though he does not have personal experience. He just knows intuitively that this is right. So as we go forward, I will be spending time, and Calvin too, with Jack Valenza on how do we get the right executive producer. He knows how to vet the right producer or production company to lead us forward. So I'm going to just show a short clip of Calling God to the Witness Stand. And this video will be made available to all of you at some point. But this is Nadine from the UK, who is a lawyer. She's a law student. Her impetus to become a law student is because she fought a case where her father was misdiagnosed, wrongly medicated. She won a settlement, and then a few months later, her father died under the assumption in the settlement that he was wrongly medicated. So Nadine is a full force to be reckoned with. She wants to make a difference in the UK in law, but she also is part of this series here. So I'm going to show you a short clip.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, imagine you were going about your days feeling happy, hopeful, and overwhelmed. But your family are looking at you through the lens of something that happened more than 20 years ago. They're looking at your behaviour like something's off. Without your knowledge, a call is made. That call results in 2 police officers coming to your door where they're telling you that you're going to be going to a psychiatric institution where you'll be committed, diagnosed, and medicated against your will. You go willingly with the police. You've got nothing to hide. You've not committed a crime. Everything will be explained when you get there. When you arrive to that institution, you tell the doctors your story, but they're not listening. They're hearing you, but they're not listening. They meet you perhaps one time, and they've already decided that you've been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. One time, and you've now got a psychiatric label that's stigmatizing. How would you feel? Anna Biltmore was telling the doctors that she was an entrepreneur, that she had been on Wall Street pitching to investors. What did they think of that? Delusional. The psychiatrist who was assessing Anna didn't even think to verify the facts that she was giving to him. No call was made to her sponsor to validate the truth. Anna had been on Wall Street. She had been pitching to investors. But now Anna's falling down the rabbit hole. No one's listening to a word she has to say. She has this diagnosis. She's about to be committed for 11 days with a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, where she'll be medicated with at least 3 harmful medications. Anna is you and me. Anna represents the thousands of people across the world who have been committed against their will, ignored, diagnosed, and medicated for telling the truth. What we're here to ask.
So to be continued. I'm going to open it up. Let me just see if I can get this off. I'm going to open it up now to commentary. So you've heard progress, that we have some documentary demos. Brett, you were on the very original years ago. We were looking at the project plan together, if you remember. We now have some documentary demos. We have an AWARE program, and we have the beginning demo for the movie. So I'd like to just stop and hear some reflections from people of what you see as progress. Brett, I'm going to ask you to comment first.
Well, I mean, it's very clear cut. Has there been progress? Yes, absolutely. Immense progress. I mean, hearing about the AWARE program, and Carlito, thank you for joining Janet and spearheading that, and that's it's massive. It's massive. Now, I'm an innovator and a visionary, so I sometimes have trouble with small steps in my own world, but that is really important. To be able to try to pilot spiritual emergency and have a little group and a working group, and the fact that you, I guess Carlito, have credentials as a counselor, so it's easier for you to maybe make inroads compared to someone who doesn't have those credentials, and then Calvin, and then Rupi out there, another professional psychiatrist that is able to ask questions. I mean, this is super important that we have psychiatrists in the game, and it was Calvin by himself in a sense before, but that's just incredibly, incredibly important, and I'm sure there's plenty more. So the whole New Jersey AWARE thing is super, super important, and it's massive progress because it started with the Interfaith and some of the meetings you all did at those 2 events in the fall last year. So there's a clear progress, a clear vision emerging, and clear devotion and dedication, which obviously leads to the next thing that is the next best thing. So that's powerful, that there's these pillars, the AWARE on the ground. You're very clear, there's movie, docuseries on the ground. You've got the East Coast, West Coast thing with Josh. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on. I'll just say I'm impressed. I'm grateful. And I'm thankful that everyone is, has been working in different ways, and that Janet has remained steadfast, and Calvin as well, and Jen and some of the early adopters. And what can I say? I mean, I'm quite pleased, and it reminded me when I saw something last week that you sent, Janet, just for the fact of like, there was maybe a part of me that always kept thinking, when is it, this year, next year, it has to be done, is it? But really now it's become clear, like, it doesn't matter what the date is, what year, when anything happens, because the anchor is like in the ground. Like, our claws are in the system, and mostly, well, not mostly, we're all responsible for these things, and we've all played a part, but it is important to acknowledge, for me anyway, when people are able to carry a vision, or like continually, so that's important. So thank you, and yeah, color me impressed, as they say.
Well, I'm glad you went first because you were part of the early crew, and yeah.
Janet,
so
let me go.
Yes.
Let me add on to Brett,
Go ahead.
just so people realize. I'll add on to Brett. At this point, there is absolutely no doubt this is going to happen. Everything is in place. At this point, the question that we can look at is when and how quickly, because it is more and more timely as the days go on. So I would like you to throw away all your doubts. It's going to happen. It's in the stars. It's in the people. I met Jack Valenza. I met her friend, Steve Feldstein, and it was like, oh my God, there's no stopping it. So just nothing's going to stop it.
Yeah, thank you, Calvin, for that. That's perfect. Others, comments on the progress so far, because we have a few more slides of info. Who would like to just give because some of you have really been here from the early stages, others kind of just started. What's your response so far? Sean?
I just want to say, as far as being of that group that was like, do one at a time, Janet, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Guilty as charged, and to see you doing them both, it's like, I didn't know you'd be like up at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. grinding away until we lived together. So,
yes,
it's congratulations, on how far you've gotten. It's a big challenge. And it just seems like, you're willing to learn as you're going, and you've made some nice steps in both directions. So
absolutely. Thank you.
Congrats.
What I love is you're doing the book, Jen's doing a book, others are doing books. I'm not doing a book. That's how I started. I can't. This is my book. And as anybody that tries to put anything out, I went kicking and screaming, no, I can't do it. Yes, we are. So other comments on our progress so far, and it could be from people that have been with us for a while or even just starting. What's your impression so far?
When I heard you speak about the rooms dedicated to spiritual emergency within the hospital, it has me think how different my experience would have been and the trauma I would have been saved from had something like that existed, right? And it's exciting to think that that will benefit people in the future. So that's super exciting, and I'm so stoked to hear that that's going on and is a real possibility for the future, because I've always daydreamed since my experience that there would be religious authority or spiritual authority within the psychiatric emergency room. So that's super exciting. And to that opening statement that you shared, that's everyone's experience, unfortunately, that gets put in the psychiatric hospital when they're having a spiritual emergency. So I'm really excited for everything to come.
Excellent. So I want to just comment on you, Colleen. You stepped in early on. You work with me weekly. You took charge of managing the project plan when no one was looking at it, and I so appreciate you. Yes, you do have lived experience, but you pushed through and got your PhD and are now caring for people. we do share that same vision that there can be major improvements to care for spiritual emergency in the hospital. We also want to prevent it, right? We want to prevent this and have alternatives way before. So I'm glad to have you back. We're going to start meeting bi-weekly. Is there anybody else that would like to comment before we continue? This is just the first briefing on progress. We good? I'm sure you'll let me know as we go forward. So, Wall Street. You know, some people would say synchronicity. I say God's hand. I was on Wall Street in 2005, and I took somebody else's place, so I wasn't even supposed to be there. And I went up kind of the last minute, and I chose the topic to present to finance funders for money to train medical students and healthcare workers on the V code in the DSM, religious and spiritual problems, and to literally just do what I could possibly do to say, we need to start getting this into an awareness, into the curriculum of training med students. So that started in 2005. Someplace I'll find the video because I do have it, but it just it was amazing that in mid-August, I happened to contact Stephen, and he said he had a space available. Would I come back on September 20th? I immediately said yes. Dr. Chatlos joined me, and Marlena joined me. So I'm going to put somebody, Jen, I'm going to put you in the back room and take Marlena up here. Marlena joined us, but she was up here with me for a week on the filming and editing. So just Friday, we went back to Wall Street, and it was just such a great high, but just such a logical process to be invited. It couldn't have gotten better. I literally just got off the phone with Stephen right before I got on here, and he's on fire for this project. Ooh. He knows this better than probably anybody because he was there not only at the Wall Street presentation, but Stephen Felstein was the one I called when I was locked up on a hospital. I spoke with him almost every day through the 11 days. And we addressed the filthiness. We addressed the food situation that was spoiled or not enough. And he eventually brought in a lawyer, and I was out in 3 days. And Stephen's famous words are, "We're going to sue the hell out of New Jersey." And I said, "No, we're going to make a movie." So I'm going to ask Marlena if you are able to comment. You represent the 20-somethings. You were there. Marlena, can you speak?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, just like say what it was like there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say I'm like the antithesis of Wall Street. So it was an absurd adventure from the get-go. It was like, I've never been to even like New York City or anything. So it was exhilarating to just pop in and go into Wall Street and kind of get a glimpse of what it was like to be in Janet's shoes. Not exactly the same, obviously, but I'm not in a psych hospital right now, so but it's, yeah, just definitely really cool to experience that from like a younger perspective, I guess, from the room. And it was nice to be able to speak about like to my own lived experience on a stage like that. Like, it just did not seem like it was the last place I would think, like, you know, we would be talking about spiritual emergencies. So it was like really cool to have it out there on Wall Street in front of investors. Like, that's big news. So
excellent. And Marlena is taking over the coordination of the 20-somethings around the world. We want the younger voice. She did speak to that when she was up there. And you can find her on the video on Facebook, Rethinking Mental Health. We posted videos, and I'll send all those links out. Dr. Chatlos, would you want to briefly comment of what it was like for you to be there?
Absolutely. And I was in Janet's shoes. And I've got to say it, I was on the boat coming in and looking at Lower Manhattan, and all of a sudden I was just hit with this burst of energy and excitement. And when I got off the boat, I realized, just like Janet, this experience tapped into an adolescent dream. And for about an hour, I am, my heart is racing. I'm having trouble breathing. And it's like, oh my God, Janet. Fortunately, I was familiar with Wall Street. I've been down there. I knew what was happening, and it still was so powerful that I can absolutely understand what Janet was going through and how it led to a spiritual emergency. Had I not known all of this, the Janet used, the intensity was exhilaratingly a little bit frightening and intimidating. So
yes,
I really got a surprise.
And I had to calm down the doctor. So anyway, so to kind of move past this or confirm it, Stephen is with us all the way. He has introduced me 20 years ago. Now it's going to be a little more assertive. He's agreed to be in the movie as himself. He has a very pivotal role in the message. So he's in the documentary, the movie, and his job is to lead us to some major investors. And we'll talk about those next steps. But he's a very close personal friend in this project. So good to know that we got that kind of backup with us. So on next steps, there is an investor pitch deck. There's no way around it. Has to be done. Got to do it with Stephen. It's not my specialty. And Brett, I'm going to go back a few years. We were trying to figure that out then. Got to do it. Gonna do it. And that will happen. So number 2 is Dr. Chatlos has offered another 10,000. Dr. Chatlos already invested in 20,000. I put 20,000 in. But recently, as we started seeing the limitations on our money to continue, Dr. Chatlos offered a $10,000 match to any contribution. And we're first starting with the team and anybody you know that cares about this initiative. It is a donation at this time. And we have Claire Bean. If some of you know her, she offered 2,000. She's putting it in $500 increments. So she's our first donor. We have Jen McDonald offered a donation also. We have a woman on our team that offered a tithe of her annual salary. And this morning when we did our early global team, we have 2 other people, Matt Marin, who said he's going to pledge and donate and get his family involved. And I'm trying to think of the other person. So we have a few other people. No donation is too small. It just starts matching. And this is the fastest way we can move forward with continuing to film and edit. So even if you're not able to contribute, please try to find some people that can just donate a little bit. I will send it out after the meeting of how to do that. And we're still on our original plan that any donation that is over $2,500, you get a 5% finder's fee. Anything that gets near $10,000, you also get a 5% finder's fee. But that 10,000 starts as an investor. So I'll send that all out later on.
Also, Janet, you should know, and they should know, I've sort of been holding Janet to the line that we need to step up to the plate as a team. I'm not giving Janet the 10,000 up front because we need to show that we're in this and that we can start pulling in other people.
Yeah.
So Janet isn't too pleased about that, but we need to step up. Any organization, if the board members don't step up, other people don't step up. So I'm just inviting people so that others can look and say they believe in it, so should I.
So thank you, Calvin, for that. And I appreciate your match. You know, you invested early, but you're offering the match and it's starting to come in. And this will help us get through into the first quarter, knowing that we are looking for big investors with Steven Feldstein. We're not dependent on donations, but it will definitely help us bridge over these next few months. We do have an intent to do a Kickstarter, and that will be more for the general population. And Jen is going to help us with that, but we don't have an exact date on that, but we're getting ready. Number 4 is we know we need an executive producer. This is not my wheelhouse, and Jack Valenzo will vet the right executive producer for us and a production company. What you see in our demos is the best we have, but it will be brought to a much higher level, to a Netflix level. The intent is to pitch to Netflix, but not only Netflix, because New Jersey is becoming a very attractive state to film and is bringing in more production companies. So we're going to find one in New Jersey, and we trust Jack Valenzo to get us the right producer. Once that happens, everything takes off. It comes from behind the scenes. Number 5, as I mentioned before, but this is probably the place I really want to put my focus. I love consulting. I love making a change at ground level. And the fact that we were given a celebrity NFL supporter who wants to introduce us and absolutely express the need to improve psychiatric care and outpatient care, he pretty much offered a consulting opportunity. So that will be my focus very soon. And we want to demonstrate improvement, and that will also be depicted in the docuseries, because the docuseries is not just historical, it's current, and it will continue with progress. 2025 will show a full production schedule, and that is assuming with faith that we get full funded in a major way. We do anticipate to go out to location, which would include California, probably Chicago, Texas, definitely Massachusetts, where Bob Whitaker is, and some others, and possibly even Canada. So we are looking to have a full production schedule in 2025 for some combination of the docuseries and the movie. So we'll see how that works. Our next time that we get together as a global team would be first quarter, because we need to move a lot of progress in this next quarter. So that's kind of our short next steps. What we are establishing is a senior leadership business team. We've been doing this for a few years. We're about anchoring it down. Investors require a strong, credentialed business team, and we pretty much have it ready. So that should be coming out very soon, and investors will be comfortable that we have a lot of business-oriented people on this team and backers. The second part of the network is different people on the team are taking over sections of the project. At one time, I was attending to everybody, and it was lovely, but it became too much. So Calvin is going to take over coordinating all of the MDs. We have quite a few MDs, and Calvin, you haven't been introduced. We have a psychiatrist from the Netherlands that is just adding to our team, and he'll be introduced soon. So we do have a number of MDs that Calvin can coordinate and make sure we have all their research, have their voice, and get that in the docuseries. Colleen, I'll have you comment briefly on, you volunteered early and you just reaffirmed it, that you will pay attention to everyone that's PhDs and or therapists serving this. So do you want to comment?
Sure. I think you just summed it up pretty well, though. I'm just looking at all the PhDs and therapists who are interested in this subject matter and interested in the film and making a change with how people are treated within the mental health system.
Yeah. And, you know, there's a study of the dissertations. I can't always read all of them, but Colleen, God bless you, you do. And we want to make sure, you know, everybody has heard the dissertations come off the paper and into the media. And there's really, you know, great unique information and overlap. So we'll get into that as we get into 2025, but I'm glad you're going to take that. We got to make sure their voice is heard and spoken in the series. And the third category is legal. And that's one of my favorite because I know nothing about it. We do have a few people, including Jim Gottstein. Jim Gottstein was on the afternoon global team, which was great. Jim is always still interested in what we're doing because he's trying to get his Zyprexa papers into the movies as well, but he does show up. So Jim is on our legal team, as is Nadine from the UK, and we have a New Jersey lawyer who is interested. What we want to do is get a full law firm establishing themselves as a hero in this project and financing it and also helping us with the court case and psych rights. So those are our three areas for the moment that we are leaning on some team members to coordinate. Number 3 is very clearly an intent, a guided intent that says we need a journalist that gets us into the news. And there have been journalists historically that care about a cause and make it happen. So I'm going to put this out there to all of you that somebody knows somebody knows somebody that is a journalist, someplace in the United States, probably, or globe, that wants to jump into this project and get us into mainstream news live. And once we get live on the news, there is a trend that says movie people pick up news. So let's see how we can do that one. Number 4 is celebrity endorsement. We were like this close getting John Bon Jovi to jump in. And I don't see it as a full loss. We just need to find our way back to that introduction. They're all over New Jersey. They're all over the United States and the world. So we're going to put it out there. Who knows who? We get 1 or 2 or 3 celebrities who have been in the mental health system endorsing us, coming into the project. It's golden. So that is our strategy. So I'm going to stop with number 5 and then just host a conversation. It takes somewhere between 5 and 10 hours per person for me to walk through all of your content, all of your videos, your story, and make sure I got it right in the whole series. And a few people have engaged with me to make sure I got all the detail right and it's all patterned out. There are a number of you, I just popped you in places. I think I got it right, but I invite your conversation. 1, to have you in this docuseries in the right way, I would like your help to put your content together, unless you've already sent it to me, because I do have some people. Give me photos, especially early photos. If any of you are involved in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, we like early photos because then we can really show a history. We can look at all the videos either I recorded or any videos you have of presentations, etc., and then give them to me, timestamp them, and say, this is the part I want in. And then just set up a meeting with me in this last quarter or by first quarter. Some of you are only like a moment in here, and that's because that's what I had time for. So I'm going to stop here now just to make sure we're clear on what is that What is that point? Most of you, I think, saw yourself in at least part 2. Some maybe not. What are your questions or comments about that step? Because we really have 3-4 months to do that. I'm going to jump to you, Sean, because I don't have enough of you from the 90s. I have current. Can you picture what you need to help me with of your 1990s story? Make it easy.
I don't know. I mean, I can barely, like, you have me from the 90s from our conversations when I was in New Jersey. You've got footage for that?
Well, your history, everything that's written about you.
Yeah. It'll take me a while. Honestly, it'll take me a while to think about that. And photos, I can't think of anything. I mean, I'm not a big photo person.
That's okay.
So I don't have a whole ton of stuff, but I mean, I can look around.
Yeah, so just take a moment. You know, some people don't have old photos. Calvin will look for old photos from the 80s. Brett, we'll see if you can find some from the 90s. And it's really just find what you can find. But, you know, we have basics. Brett, you and I have talked about this. We pretty much have you placed in a variety of places. Could you help us a little bit with making sure we got you all in the right places with some maybe early photos?
Yeah, I'll work on that. It'll be much easier in mid-November when I get home and I can look through some photo albums and stuff.
Okay.
Because I'm like Sean, I don't have a lot online. It's just like based on what my parents might have at home and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll make sure that it's good.
I'm going to have Jen comment here because this sometimes is painful for people. Jen dove deep into archives. So why don't you comment, because you really pulled the most, and everybody else, you know, take your time over 3, 4, 5 months. Jen.
Well, the timing was good for me too. I know that, you know, we're all busy. We all have our own projects, and I was finishing up my last revision of my book before I send it out again to for proposals. And I had so much of the stuff already out and looking at it, so it was very, very fresh in my mind. But then I had gotten a big collection of things that I had, and I had at one point wanted to, like, you know, file a lawsuit. So I had all this stuff. I had pictures, all this proof of my stuff. So I know what it takes to get a lot of stuff together, and it's hard because even though I like all those small clips of my little fragmented story, it took a long time, hours and hours and hours just to get those things together and piece it together so that we have something to look at while I'm speaking. So, but it's how we can hold the space and make a structure visually and with audio so that whoever's looking at that can see your presence. So it's really important because, you know, even if it doesn't like make any particular cut for the episode 1 or episode 2, those stories have to be anchored somewhere. And you're the creator of your own story. You want to be represented in the narrative that you want to present best. So when you do get a chance, like I said, I know how crazy it can be. It's worth it. Think about like pictures. A lot of you guys have like all little audio things, little videos here and there. I ended up finding videos of myself, you know, talking about my meds in 2005. And I was like, oh my God, like I was embracing it. But those things then like show the arc of our characters, right? Where we come from, where we're going. So just try to think about where you can pull it. It might be if it's not all over the internet, it might be like in a text that somebody gave you, a video that was like long stored on some kind of flip phone in the past. Just give it thought and then try to just put everything in files and then put some structure to it and then have that meeting, because you know, then we could just get more and more plugged away into a good filing system for the producer because if a producer comes in, he may just start running with what he has. So we want everything to be there, you know.
Yes. Excellent. So this is not a pressure. It's really your opportunity.
Right.
You can get to it. Otherwise, we're going to make sure you're in some form. And what's absolutely guaranteed is part 4, where everybody starts coming together. We have all your good stuff that's current, your books, your podcasts, your videos. So we have the part 4, excuse me, already set. It's how realistic do we want to make anybody that was historical, especially 70s, 80s, and 90s. So yeah, do it from joy. And that's at least an opportunity to talk with each person as we go forward. Let me just see where I am with a final message. What is this letting me do? Oh, give me a minute here. Now how do
Janet, can I share something while you're looking?
Yes, please.
What occurred to me is, aside from editing, paying for editing and filming, which is always kind of an important thing, it really struck me like, dude, take that $5,000 and hire the pitch deck person. There's people that can take what is already existing with all this material, who are just freaking geniuses, and they will create you the deck that Jack wins with. Because what you need the deck for is only to get into the conversation. Once these people meet you and meet us or meet Calvin and they're going to be a yes to investing, but it's always a trick to get them to say, okay, fine, Jack, I'll meet with Janet. And that deck is usually what is the thing that makes the difference, and it is such a specific skill. So I would seriously, Calvin, whoever matching, put a couple grand in finding that genius. That's all that they do. And there are people like that who can take these materials and turn them into a deck, and that is worth $50,000 right now. But anyway, I was saying put some money aside for that, rather than only filming and editing costs. That to me seems like a really important cost to pay attention to. Yeah.
Thank you, because we've pulled back, as much as I want to film more and edit more, I'm really holding discernment to stop and get ready for a Stephen Felstein and Jack Valenza. And
it's also that time of year, by the way. The best time to find investors is now, between now and the end of the year, for taxes and everything. So it's another opportunity for this time of year. So it's kind of right on schedule. November, December is when you can find people that would maybe happily put in a couple $100,000 at least, or $1 million, just to actually make their taxes work for them.
Well, thank you for that. I will go to sleep and wake up with that as my focus, because I keep thinking I got to put it together. But let's just bring that person in, because it does have to be done right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So everybody sees the opportunity. We got you. We want to make sure we include you. And to the extent that you want to engage with me, we get more. And we do have enough for multiple seasons of a series. So let's see how we do that. I'm going to close with, what does help look like? And I know there's a little typo here, but we'll get that done. What does help look like for you on your projects? Because everybody has a project here, a mission. So I'd like to give everybody a chance to voice, how can we help you? And then also anything that you want to say, how can you help this project? So I'm going to open it up for a full conversation. How can we help you in your book, your article, your project, your podcast, your activism? So let's close with everybody integrating a little bit with your voice. Carlita, how can we help you with this initiative that is on top of your full-time job, on top of your crisis counseling? How can we help you with this aware piece you bought into? Oh, you're silent again. Carlito has this thing. He starts talking. So Carlito, will give you We'll give you a little moment to get that going. Who would like to? Jen, you have a book that wants to come out. You have a podcast. We know you're working full time as a teacher, but we know where your heart is. How can we help you?
Jen, what's the name of your book?
Not as crazy as you think. That's where the book started, and then it was never published, and then COVID happened. I said I still have to get my information out, so I did put Not As Crazy As You Think podcast, but it's by the title of the same, the same title. I don't really know. I'm just in the middle. If anybody has any, literary agents, or people at publishing houses that I could send my work to, right now I'm just finishing up my proposal. So it is a memoir. It is a also like nonfiction, creative nonfiction. So just trying to get the story out there. This works with it because it is my true story. So and if what I will put out there to everyone on the team, and many people on this team have worked with me, I am very open to doing podcasts with anybody that wants to tell the story. So if you go back the last year since I met Janet, I've covered a lot of people on the team, and ISPS last year we did like 5 people on the team. So, certainly reach out to me and I can put my information in there, because this is the information that I am trying to, shed light upon in my book as well. So the podcast supports that. So anybody who is interested, I'm going to put my get in touch with me, please connect to me. I'm going to put my Instagram and my website and my email in the chat. But that's how you can support me.
So Janet, this time the book is not being published yet.
Not yet. No.
Okay.
I am looking for somebody to believe in it, as Janet is looking for someone to believe. Right. So that's where I'm at right now. But I have a full edit that's just been finished this summer. So
the reason I asked, Sean, I've ordered your book.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks.
I am gonna give you a book review and send it to the American Psychiatric Association's monthly newsletter, and I will try to do it in a way that they'll pay attention to it.
Well, I'm touched, Calvin. Thank you very much.
Because I think your message is on the edge that they can hear.
I hope so.
So I'd like to see what they do with it.
And I'm going to add to that Jen, if Calvin hasn't read your manuscript, let's see if we can get an endorsement from Calvin on your back cover of a book. And I'm gonna lean into Dr. Rupi if you're still able to hear us, because I would love to see Dr. Rupi get on your podcast. I love her voice. I love your voice, Dr. Rupi. So if you can still hear us, and yes, could you comment? Would you like to be on a podcast with Jen?
That's so funny. Being put on the spot. I'm very grateful for any and all opportunities, and I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on IG and Twitter as well, and would love to connect there.
That would be great, because part of what I address in my book is, and it has a big anti-racism sentiment. So I have been following you for a very long time, and I would love to connect and, have you share your vision. So we'll be in touch.
Yes. So for everybody, take a look at the links where Dr. Rupi, she has a lot of pieces, but, very specifically the whole 911 caution would be great. Matt, in Australia, how can we help support you? You're covering a lot of bases with your initiatives.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm sort of a fly on the wall, just observing and listening. But I mean, the synergies are absolutely there. I managed to get talking about bipolar as a spiritual gift into the WHO discourse, and one of their recent frameworks is for meaningful engagement. So to me, that's a really big step and move for a predominantly biomedical institution. I'm writing my own autobiography and adaptation to feature film myself and my story, my mother. but that's early days. So I probably just need to just sit in this space for a little while and get a sense of everyone. I know a few people, and yeah, but there's a lot of synergy. But I think I'm just sort of learning.
Okay, excellent. So thanks for connecting and stay in touch. Carolyn, if you could unmute yourself, you are a force to be reckoned with of what you're doing, having had lived experience for a good 2 decades and fighting the legal battle on your own. So if you wanted to chime in on how has this been for you to listen and how can we help you? So I see Carolyn is still muted. So at least I'm inviting you before we close here. Colleen, you are looking to write an article and then write more articles. How can we help you?
I don't think I require any help at this point. It's just a matter of getting them done. But I'm busy with my private psychotherapy practice at the same time and just life. So, but I do plan on getting to my academic articles relatively soon, hopefully by the end of the year at the very latest.
So tell us what you're looking to publish.
Basically an article based on my dissertation. So.
All right. So, and then you're off to the New York Times or whatever you said you were going to do. So
I'm thinking about writing an article for the New Yorker.
Yeah, the New Yorker. Okay. We'll get that moving forward. So, who else did we ask? Sean, did I ask you?
Yeah, I could mention something. I wrote this book to help people, and I think the book could help pretty much anybody on this call because a lot of the ideas I have in the book are original and challenging. And there's a lot of difficult stories. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of triumphs. And I think it's a book that people are going to wrestle with to create a more sophisticated understanding of exactly what we're dealing with. So I think the book could help a lot of people. And if you want to help me, share it, like Calvin. Get it in front of the APA, Calvin. There we go.
Yes.
Wonderful. So I would say that's it. And I'm doing some retreats and I want to get into training. I'm not quite sure how, but I'm sure the book will be part of that.
Excellent. All right, Brett, whatever you're doing, how can we help you?
The best way to help me is to get funding so I can be supported to be part of that series and travel around interviewing people and acting and participating and helping the concept of the film, like all these things I just want to go wild with. And I'm talking about so I can have gas and hotel, not like I need to make $1 million a month. I need support. That's my biggest thing. I need to make money and be supported with money in aligned ways. So any way that anyone can help me with that. But in terms of win-win, the greatest outcome, is getting the big funding so that I'm able to be part of a team and have some support and have resources to enact the things that I know I can contribute and to be part of that and then really spend a lot of time. So I'll get more into that as I come back home. It's always easier for me, Janet, to work with you in person, and it'll change things. I can meet Carlito and hang out with Calvin. It's a game changer when I'm home. So I'm hoping the trajectory is going back again towards that, and I'll be around for a while in the U.S. this time. So, so that's how people can help me. So, and I know there's not enough for everyone else to go on, so I'll keep it related to the project.
Well, that's good because while I would like to travel, I'm still a homebody, and you and I talked about this early on, where you are a world traveler. So I like that as a shared vision. Marlena, you're still driving. How can we help you? You have, a number of things to say and do, but you did take on the 20-somethings group to enact them. What has been your thinking? How can we help you either on that or whatever else you're working on?
I'm trying to think, I guess like what is holding me back in terms of my own life areas right now. And like kind of similarly to Brett, like I'm also a traveler, and I'm like stuck in a environment I don't like, and I'm a pizza delivery driver right now. That's what I'm currently doing. So not my like end all be all position, if that makes sense. And I have like undergrad degrees in physics and psychology, which is like, I mean, like kind of relevant if I want to go into psychology in terms of getting credentials, but I'm just kind of looking at kind of unique routes and opportunities around like sort of peer support offerings or work, even like writing and journalism around this. You know, like I've been working with Canon on like editing some of these films and media, and like I like really getting involved behind the scenes. So anything like that, or like I'm interested in kind of either doing research and or like cross merging over into like a psychotherapy practice eventually one day. I feel like I'm not necessarily mature enough for that yet. I'm 26, but like crossing over psychedelics and spiritual emergencies and madness movements, and like just neurodiversity in general. And like if there's any opportunity or like ideas of like resources to look for anything, definitely send it my way. I can type my email in the chat or my Instagram, whatever's easier to contact. In terms of what can support me, just what like that. And also I would say be clarity on my own experience. I know like to some degree, like we are some of us might have more, I guess, knowledge maybe, or have more speculations or inclinations as to how to handle spiritual emergencies, right? Like Sean is writing a whole book on it, and on top of the work that he does and that many of you do. And I am like definitely stuck in that arena because of my own experiences kind of being hairy, borderline in terms of discerning. And I feel they have different courses of action in terms of treatment, so just if anyone could help with anything like that. So thank you. And send any 20 somethings my way, or like 20 something ish range people my way. I eventually will be coordinating them all to have like more group conversations and get the younger people involved as much as possible.
Excellent. And my vision is that we all help Marlena get on a course in her career that uses her intelligence and gets to be full-time in the work that she desires. We do want to get her involved in the press releases, more editing, taking charge of some of the behind the scenes stuff because she understands it. So that's also why we're looking for some financial support so we could actually hire her a little bit away from Domino's and get her into her area. Is there anybody I did not? Yes, Calvin.
I had put in before, but there was a United Nations General Assembly summit on spirituality in the last week when they were having the UNGA, and they had top leaders in the field in this country. And the work that we're doing, that I'm doing at our treatment center, is way beyond anything else that's done in this country. So I'm sending you a video that explains in some detail so that you all can take a look at it. Because as of now, and I've been looking, there is no other explanation for how spiritual experience is connected in our psychology and connected with anything grounded in science in the world. So it tries to put all the writings into more simple presentation if you'd be interested in taking a look.
Absolutely. You're going to send that on email?
There, I just sent it.
On email.
And I'll include it on the email when.
Yeah, I'll put it together.
Okay.
And we do want your expertise to keep us updated of what's going on with United Nations, World Health Organization, APA, all that. Dr. Rupi, if you're still with us, how can we help you and support your mission and your work?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. I would love support on social media. I'm definitely trying to work on picking up my following so my ideas can reach more people. So, following me and staying in touch on social media and amplifying messages are all great. And then if you know of any healthcare providers who might be interested in my anti-racism fellowship, I'm going to be reopening enrollment for that this fall.
Excellent. Absolutely excellent. Well, you're included in our global team. Everybody find each other on LinkedIn. And anybody that's not on LinkedIn, please get on LinkedIn because it's one of our main professional connections. Did I miss anybody of how we can help support? Did we get everybody? So closing comments. We close by 7:30 my time, Eastern time. Anybody want to comment of what was the value to be on here tonight? We're very glad you showed up. Any closing comments, even if it's a word, a phrase, any comment? I'm always going to lean to you. Okay, Sean, go ahead.
Nice energy, everybody. Really nice energy. See you next year.
Excellent.
Or see you next month if you're in Philadelphia.
Yes. All right.
Or New Jersey.
Brett, you have a closing comment?
Sean, make sure you let us know the details as soon as possible.
I will. Thanks. 2 weeks. It'll be a lot of things firmed up in about 2 weeks.
Okay.
Brett, you have a closing comment? Might have frozen. Open up to anyone. Colleen, it's good to be back in touch with you. Do you have any closing comment? You're good. I know. You're there, quiet behind the scene. Jen, you always have a closing comment.
I'm muted. Okay, so I just want to share my excitement and my thankfulness to everybody who came tonight. I know that there was another meeting this afternoon, and so this is probably a small group at night, but I just want to just voice my appreciation that we're actually finally, I think all of us experience on some level this sense of how long we've been wanting to tell this story to the larger public. So I always tell Janet, I always thank Janet for holding the vision. That's what really it takes. It just takes somebody to be a container, and then for people to continue watering, the seeds. So Janet, just thank you for doing that for all of us. And we're all the seed waterers, so exciting.
Thank you, Janet.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm going to say thank you, God, because I wanted to quit a lot of times and he does not let me do that. So meaning God. So I'm thankful for everybody that just keeps giving me energy to do this. I will say one quick thing. This afternoon's meeting, Hillary did acknowledge she was going to take responsibility for this whole moms section. We want to have a little video piece about moms who have been involved in incarcerating their kids. And we are going to speak well of them, that it was the narrative they bought into. So we have a few people that are going to jump in on this. We're going to be recording something about moms and trying to inform other moms about the new narrative. So wanted to just mention that. That was a new topic from this morning. So thank you. I will work with you one-on-one offline over the next few months. We'll update you on email and we will set a new meeting as a global team in the first quarter. So that's it.
Everyone stay well.
Yes. Excellent.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Janet. Bye.
Sean. Can't wait to see you. All right, you got to go.